a celebrity chat. So everyone, welcome from Tile to stream. But this is Full Throttle, the Octane talk show where we talk about Rocket League and everything going on in the competitive scene. I'm your host, Vaudable. I'm a community caster and do some small LAN events just in North America. And we also have some people from across the pond, such as B-Shadow. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well at this lovely 1:50 a.m. in the morning.
Oof, that's pretty early. How are you doing, Sloth?
I'm doing amazing.
Amazing. Sloth, for you guys who might not know, is the RLCS statistician. I think that's how you pronounce that. So he does all the stats and everything for the guys on the desk, and that you see like the articles and everything. Pretty cool. And then we also have Dexy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, chilling.
Enjoying the Full Throttle and Tile.
Was that funny? Like,
I don't know. I guess V-Shadow thought it was funny. Anyway.
I find everything funny.
I find everything Dexy says funny.
Yeah,
right.
He's a pretty hilarious guy. But we have just 3 topics we're going to go over today. Usually we have a little bit more production, but everyone's been a bit busy with some exams, and it's the end of the season. We're getting to that, so we only have a few things to talk about. Just going over that, it's going to be the regionals, the world championships, and then like some other stuff going on in the community, maybe some throwdown or some Gfinity. But we're going to start off with the RLCS regionals that just happened for the North American side. Anyone want to take control and tell us a little bit about that?
G2.
I mean, to be fair, first deserved win, I think. So, it's been a long time coming for those guys, especially since they've looked so good. I mean, they already won E-League, right? And they got second at DreamHack. So at this point, it almost felt like and it just felt bad that they never had won a regional championship, right?
That's true.
So it's actually really deserved, especially by stopping a seemingly unstoppable NRG that had a perfect season until then. And with a 7-match series as well, it was actually a really, really hype matchup, and it was great to watch.
It was great, too, because they were already coming off of a hot sweep against Cloud9, which I'm sure nobody really expected that, even though they did beat them in league play. I don't think anyone expected a 4-0. If anyone did, I'm going to go to them and say, okay, you're going to be placing all the bets for me in the future.
Yeah, no way anyone seriously thought about that. I think the Cloud9 is still a very capable team, even though they've kind of looked shaky at times in recent times. They're still very capable, so you just think they'd at least take 1 game off of that series. Right?
I know, it's crazy.
But G2 is just been playing incredibly well lately, and it's not just like the JNAPS show anymore, right? It's literally everyone on the team. Even Kronovi's always been just being doubted upon, just thought about as a third man that gets carried by JNAPS, right? It's just been a really integral part of that roster now, and it's actually amazing to see everyone just playing at their prime right now.
Yeah, like you said, G2 are playing really good, but you were talking about Cloud9, and they're playing pretty terribly for being Cloud9. Going into weeks 1 through 3, they were solid. They were at 3-0 with the record of 9-1, which was crazy. And then weeks 4 and 5, they just completely their offense just died. Gimmick just didn't do anything in the last 2 weeks, and they were looking really poor coming into the regional championship. I thought that they would actually be able to bounce back and they'd make it to the top 2, make it to the finals, but obviously that didn't happen, which is surprising. But they have a lot to work on before Worlds, but I think they'll be back in form before Worlds.
Hopefully. Or else we're going to kind of see the unfortunate situation that happened with Cloud9 at E-League, where they didn't really do as well as they could have. They were in the group of death, but they barely made it out and then got stomped by Gale Force. So I feel like they have been shaky since then, after not getting the best results they wanted at Worlds last season. I feel like they've been just struggling to get to the places that we kind of expect Cloud9 to be at.
Well, they played in the Ting Open, even though it's an online event.
True.
They made it to the finals, and it was a close 7-game series versus Gale Force there. So in the offseason, they didn't play much besides that and E-League. But I mean, that's decent performances there. But I don't know what happened in the last few weeks, but it's just I think like the big issue for the team is just Gimmick didn't perform, and they really need Gimmick to like perform with Squishy on the offense, because having Torment like up on the offensive side isn't really gonna work for them.
Any thoughts, Dexy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the stats right now on Octane. I'm trying to, find some interesting stuff to talk about. I think, Slock was talking about how Gimmick really needs to step up and perform for this team to find success, and I really have to agree with him. As a package, as a team, they work really well, but I think they need all three members to be playing well for them to perform, and I think that's kind of true for most teams. But I think especially C9, they're such a cohesive unit, kind of like Gale Force, and you could argue NRG now and G2. When Kronovi's not playing the way he's supposed to be playing, that team kind of falls apart. And I don't think JNaps isn't able to carry an entire team. And I think you see the same thing happening on C9, that Squishy, although he's really good, Torment can't pick up the slack that Gimmick is giving up. So hopefully, Gimmick returns to his form, even though he kind of fell out of it in the second half of the season. And then if that happens, I think NA will have like a really good shot at Worlds.
Yeah, I saw a good question in chat from Jayski. They said, why do y'all think that Gimmick hasn't been playing to the level that's been expected? Any thoughts about that?
I have no idea, because I don't know anything about him.
I mean,
good Rocket League.
What can you infer, I guess?
I could speculate for days, but I don't think that'd be fair on anyone. It's just, I guess, like every good player, even great players, have slumps from time to time. So I guess he's just on a slump right now. And
that's possible.
Exactly what reason is causing him to have that slump, it's hard to tell without speculating, right? So,
So we could look at their matches that they played in the RLCS this season. So the first half of the season was actually easier for them than the second half. You could argue that Ghost is a tough opponent, but based on the standings of the season, they're clearly not up there in that top four. And then they faced Rogue and Out of Style. Those were the first three matches. So that's like a really pretty easy start to the season, because those three teams are in the bottom four this season in RLCS. And then they faced Evil Geniuses, G2, CLG, NRG to finish the season. And even though CLG finished in the bottom four, a lot of people coming into the season thought that they would be top four. In that roster, CLG's been around forever. They're constantly performing well. And this season, I think they underperformed this season. So you could argue that it was just the tough opponents that made C9 kind of fall apart a little bit. But I'm not too worried. I think they'll pick it back up.
I hope so. I'm sure a lot of people that are big C9 fans expect a lot more out of them, and we'll see exactly what happens with them when it gets to Worlds. Speaking about other teams that might have not been performing as well as we expected, we need to address PSG and their unfortunate performances they had leading up to the regionals as well as at the regionals, where they strived for more. They just couldn't grasp it, unfortunately, this season.
Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly. I just that roster was always very momentum based, I feel, which is, I think, not only is it a big reason why they ended up winning DreamHack, in my opinion, but it's also a big reason why now inversely they're not doing so well on RLCS, because they didn't start as hot, and you could just see from the very first match they had, they were just not playing up to par anymore, and I just feel it snowballed further and further down the season, where they barely got through to regionals, right, with the 6th seed, and then just ended up losing. I'm still surprised they took even 2 games off of Vitality, because the way they had been playing before that, especially they were being dominated before those 2 wins too. They were 3-0 and they were trying to make a reverse sweep, and I thought they'd be dead by that 3-0 point, and they still lost at the end either way. It's just I don't know exactly what's going on with that team, and I mean, there's already rumors spiraling if you're asking other places. So I don't know if we'll see any roster changes coming up for PSG on the following season, but with the personalities on that team, I wouldn't be that surprised. I'm just not sure if it's going to be necessarily Bluey or someone else, but definitely feels at this point that they're just too inconsistent for their own good, and probably a change of someone might improve things for them.
Yeah, kind of on that topic that you were just talking about a potential roster change. There's obviously nothing official yet. We're still in the season.
Yeah.
And like roster changes usually don't get announced until like the week before the start of the next season. That's usually how it goes. So there's a lot of time for things to kind of flesh out, and it's really all rumors right now. But Bluey was playing. I think he played 2 Gfinity events this week with Greasy, and I think he had Gregan one day, and then
he had Scrub both.
No,
Scrub,
I think it's
Scrub
both
the other day.
Scrub both times.
Oh, it was Scrub both times. Okay.
Today was Remco, I think.
Okay.
Oh, it was Remco. Because somebody tweeted that they were playing with.
The first time was with Scrub and Greasy, and then I guess the second time was with
was
Remco and
Greasy.
Remco.
Because Gregan tweeted, he was like,
he played against them in the
"Oh,
final.
he played against them." Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gutsmill just confirmed it for you, by the way. So yeah.
But yeah, I think PSG are like inconsistent and not like doing too hot, but I sort of still think they're in the top 4 of EU. And I think that if they didn't have to play Vitality and had to play either F3 or NV, I think they would have won that and qualified.
It's just they're too inconsistent for their own good, really. Like they definitely have that potential, and I mean, we saw them win DreamHack. It's not like they don't have the skill for it, right? It's just they're just even before that, before DreamHack, we just saw like one match. They're like #1 team in the world by far, winning against GFE if it was needed, and then the next they just did nothing. Drop dead, basically. Just really, really inconsistent play from that team. So, and it got them on that 6th seed, unfortunately, this season. So it kind of ended up screwing them because Vitality has been looking really, really good this season.
Yeah, they almost got that 5th seed, actually, just looking at the group stages and how they played out for the European RLCS. Both them and Envious were 3 and 4 with 42.86 win percentage. They just lost one more game and didn't win that game instead, and that would have like changed it to a different kind of tiebreaker. So they didn't have the like game win percentage they needed to win over top of Envious to get that 5th spot and maybe get into the top 4 for it. So it's a bunch of like speculation. I'm sure we'll talk about like the way that the head-to-heads or the win percentage affected the tiebreakers and everything a little bit later.
Yeah,
but it's definitely something we're going to bring up.
I know Freaky isn't happy about the way the seeding works out, but either way, I like PSG. Whoever was in that 6th position is not going to beat Vitality. Vitality
it was expected. Whoever was in there wasn't going to make it.
Vitality was contending with the top 2 with Gale Force, and Lexi has the top 3 teams. So like they're like very far ahead of like the rest of the teams, so it was just unlucky. Like I really think if PSG placed 5th and they had to play flip side, they would have definitely won that, in my opinion.
Really? You really think they could have beaten?
They beat flip side during the season, yeah.
It depends. It really depends.
They're so inconsistent. I can't even call it either way because it's just like they could, but they could also lose, which is
it's like a 50-50
such a
cop out,
right?
For them.
Okay.
It depends on which PSG shows up, right? And
which flip side shows up.
Yeah, that as well. But even like that match versus Vitality, I don't think.
Well, PSG's only losses during the season were to Vitality, Gale Force, Complexity, and then they dropped one to Excel back, like in the first game of the series. Like they beat all the other teams that they were supposed to beat. So like, it's not they weren't that inconsistent. They lost to the teams that are better than them, and then they just threw one versus Excel.
But the thing is, like, they could definitely like even beat teams above their weight mostly, I feel.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But I'm just saying that like if they had to play against Flipside in this match to make it to Bros, like there's a good chance they would have beat them because they've beat.
It was a better chance.
Yeah, that I can agree with.
I kind of want to get your thoughts. You guys keep bringing up Flipside in that matchup against Envious. Do you guys think that, I don't know how to phrase this, but obviously those two teams have the two rookies in the region with Ignite and Yukio. So obviously Team Envious advanced and Flipside are not going to be at Worlds. Who do you guys think would have been the better performer? If
Against PSG?
No,
are you saying
at Worlds better?
At Worlds.
Oh,
yeah.
at Worlds.
Do you think the better team won that match?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Especially after they 4-1 Complexity to get third place. Like after the performance they had for the regionals, and even like putting up a decent fight against Gale Force, they obviously could have done a lot better and only got one win. But I feel like it could have been a complete blowout in the favor of Gale Force in that series, and winning 4-2 against Flipside. That was huge for them. I think they were like down by 2 games and they came back, or no, Gale Force, Flipside came back the 2 games and then they won the last 2, I think. I gotta look at that series.
I still kind of think that, Envy definitely played out of their minds on the championship. And I think overall, I agree that the better team went through. But like you mentioned that win versus Complexity, I still feel overall, it's not that Envy. It was both. Envy playing out of their minds, but also Complexity really not on their game on the championship, to be fair. So I wouldn't necessarily call the win versus Complexity the reason why Envy is such a is the better team compared to Flipside right now. I just think that Envy has been in a poor trend lately. You've just seen Ignite is just a great player overall, and then we've seen Ramco playing really solid throughout the season, and even Devo is now finally really showing up as well. And now I think is like they're just peaking at the right time, basically. So I think overall right now, because they're peaking at the correct time, they're the better team, and they did get that win versus Flipside.
Well, Flipside they only had like that one good day, right? Like the day where they beat Gale Force and Vitality, and then the rest of the weeks they've sort of like just been like meh. So like
it's been kind of Cooksir and the other two. I feel nothing against the other 2, but Cooksir, it kind of feels bad for him just because he had such impressive stats all over the regular season. But overall, as a team, Envy is still probably better than them. So
yep, I agree with that. I'm just happy to see Ignite Atlanta is going to be sick.
It's going to be
impressive. It's impressive how Envy was basically expected to go down to RLRS before the Ignite pickup, and now they're going to LAN.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna meme. I'm sorry, I have to. Ignite's finally good enough to understand. It just sent Envy to LAN. It's like actually a really amazing app that dude has had, and I'm really happy for him. He really deserves to be at LAN.
It's been great. And we're also going to have like 2 rookies in the RLCS at LAN. We have Justin there as well. It's going to be crazy to see which one of their teams does the best. I'm expecting more out of NRG, obviously, just based off of their run they had during the North American League play. But it's just going to be great all around to see like what results they'll have at that World Championship and how far they'll be able to go. They'll make it to day 2 or 3. It's going to be great. One thing before we get into more of this, I want to say thank you to Amaze Brains TV for the Twitch Prime subscription. Really appreciate it, man. We just got affiliate, so I think he's our first sub. I might be mistaken. Yeah, he's our first sub on the channel, so thank you very much, and thank you for your support. And we'll get back into the conversation. The producer was saying we should sell out Twitch Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you should hook up your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime and get that free sub. Anyway, back to the RLCS regionals talk. Anything else we want to bring up about the European side? Obviously, great to see Gale Force with the first team ever in RLCS history to get a World Championship win and then win their regional playoffs. I think that's pretty great. Yeah, they broke the curse because every time we've had the World Championship winner just like falter off the next season. So are we finally getting that consistency?
Yeah, definitely. Which I think is kind of amazing you would think that going back to seasons 1, 2, or 3, that the better players, like Cookser, Marquis, Crino, like all the players that were good in those early seasons would have had longer sustaining success, just because not everyone was at the same level like they are now, where you have a lot of teams at the same level. So I think it's actually more impressive than people are giving them credit for, that they've had this kind of sustained success over multiple seasons. Just because there's so many teams, especially in Europe, where you could argue that any team in there, except for maybe Excel or Fnatic, could be in that top 2 spot. So I think it's just something that we may appreciate more down the road, that we're not really appreciating now, that we're kind of seeing history, something that's never been done before, a team winning a championship and then being the first seed again all the way through. So, we'll have to see. I think if they can go far and maybe a grand finalist, it'll be something that we'll remember forever. But
yeah,
if they come in and flop, if they come in and flop, which I don't think they will, but if they did, it might like tarnish their run that they've had.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's something impressive. I don't think we're kind of realizing yet just how impressive it is, especially considering how close all these players are in skill.
It's crazy. It's only going to get better from there and more competitive, I feel. Let's see what else we can talk about on the regional championship before we move on to
I just want to add, we sort of like had the consistency in NA too. If we like not looking at the worlds, but like we had E-League champs G2, then DreamHack runner-ups G2, and now we have back as champs. So like they made it to finals of all 3 events.
It's the most consistent we've seen G2 be to date, I'd say. They didn't make Worlds one season, and now they're first seed going into the World Championship. I feel like we've seen some like great improvement from them, especially as B Shadow mentioned before, with Rizzo and Kronovi both stepping up. Mainly Rizzo, I'd say, this season, because he's more filling out that striker role instead of being like the passer and all that.
Yeah, we just seen Rizzo like just take a more active role on the team, because usually you just see like Rizzo like laying back, letting Kronovi and JNaps do their stuff, and Rizzo clean up. But now he's like actually like in the offensive like rotation, like working to like score the goals. I think he has the most passes per game, so like it's a pretty good stat to have.
Yeah. Most passes, and he's still getting a lot of shots too.
Yeah.
A lot of people still give Kronovi like crap for like when he whiffs or something like that. I think it's going to take probably a while for like the choking, whatever. I don't know what to call it, but it has followed him throughout his career since his World Championship win, since probably season 2 or 3, where like he can't win events. Why is Kronovi whiffing? Like whatever. But I think recently, like they've clearly turned it around. He's clearly found his place on that team, and it definitely shows, because if you look at their match list in the last, from DreamHack all the way through RLCS, they've only lost 3 games out of, what is that, 14 or 15, something like that. So that's pretty impressive, especially against the teams that it's against, which are all top teams.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I mean, like we talked about the European teams that didn't make it. I don't think we actually talked about the NA teams that didn't make it. We just sort of skipped over it. Rogue and Ghost.
Yeah.
I think we sort of skipped over it because we like expected, like
we expected more.
exactly as we expected.
I was actually surprised at how Rogue played, to be fair.
Yeah,
I really thought
that's what I was
Rogue
going
had
to
a
bring up.
decent. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Then.
Yeah, Rogue actually like it was a 4-2 match, and Rogue actually like showed up a decent amount, and that's really in part due to like Jacob is still like an incredible player. He had 42% shooting percentage in league play, which is unheard of. That's 42% across the entire season. That's the record now. And even in the versus EG, he had a like 34% shooting percentage, which is another like incredibly high shooting percentage. What really hurt them is that Sizz did not get a goal still in the regionals. So,
ouch.
But like despite Sizz having 0 goals, they were still able to take 2 games off of EG, and I think the games they did lose were one goal games as well. So because I remember in the middle of the series they lost three games, all 1 goals, and I think they all went in overtime too. So
Yeah, this is actually impressive. I'm glad you brought this up. So Jacob came from NRG, where he was playing that third man position that you hear the casters talk about. He was assisting. He was not the lead striker, especially when you have a player like Garrett G, a player like Fireburner. Those are like the known strikers on that team. And so for Jacob to come onto a new team and become the lead striker, and he actually led the league in shooting percentage at 40%, which is pretty good. I think, like, I don't know what kind of like scrim setup they have going on, but he clearly came in and was able to transform his play style in a season, which I think is pretty quick. I don't know about you guys, but to go from being an assister and not striking for most of your career to coming into a new team in a new system and leading the team basically in the striking position, 0.8 goals per game, 40% leading the league in shooting percentage. I think that's pretty impressive.
yeah, I mean, one of the factors of him having a high shooting percentage is that he didn't take that many shots per game. I think he was in the bottom 3. He averaged 2 shots per game, and the only people lower than him were Hato and St. Jackie.
Right.
That's probably one of the things that hurt Rogue more, is like Jacob was pretty on fire in terms of like scoring goals, and they should have like had more shot opportunities for Jacob rather than Insol and Sis taking more shots.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Especially, I mean, overall, their team had pretty low shots per game. They were all below 3. Well, I guess most players are below 3, but they were all below like 2.5, which is the average.
Also, that like they made it pretty far. Took 2 games off of EG, despite like the issues they had that the Jacob was tweeting about occasionally. So I mean, I don't know if they'll make a roster change or not, but they might have a good season next season. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Only time will tell.
I think if they can get Jacob the ball more, I mean, he does have low shots per game, but if that can translate with a higher volume of shots, if they can feed him the ball more, maybe they can find more success. But it looks like right now, I mean, some of those games they played, it was like kind of all over the place for them. So they clearly got some stuff to work out in the offseason, but I don't know if they'll make any changes. I mean, there's not many players who would bring up, maybe Chicago, but
will that really fix the problems that they've been having? I feel like it's a team chemistry issue as well.
Well, yeah, but if they were to replace a player that's preventing them from having good chemistry.
Nah, I don't think they need to replace a player. I think the team is pretty good, honestly.
They just need to work
out their
their
play style. Yeah, Jacob needs more shots. Sis needs to take less shots. Yeah.
Well, what does Insolences need to do?
Insolences need to actually scrim.
Play Rocket League.
Yeah. Maybe that's the issue. I don't know. But yeah, let's talk about Ghost then. I'm sure a lot of people, maybe, I don't know, this is just speculation, expected more out of them, especially after they like picked up Matt for Classics, who I guess they thought was a better move, but obviously ended up proving a bit differently than what we saw. Did anyone expect him to be getting 6th place? I expected like at least 5th, maybe.
Yeah, I thought of them top. I thought they'd be 4th where EG is right now. So
yeah.
Yeah, definitely a disappointing season for them. But then as we saw them play more and more, we realized more and more just how little that team was working out on the field. So, I mean, I'm still really sad for CLG that they were literally 1 game away from getting that 6th place, and I do think they would have probably fared a bit better on the playoffs, but it just hasn't worked out. I don't know exactly what's going on with that roster, like the team dynamic inside, but they're just not really playing well.
Yeah, I mean, I had EG 4th this whole time, so I didn't expect much from Ghost. I had Ghost and Rogue in the 5-6 place, which is exactly what happened. But we saw Ghost remove Classics for the team after that poor E-League performance. So it's gonna be like it's totally expected that Lepimir is gonna make a roster change for next season. So
I can see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
if they don't make a roster, like they weren't even that bad when they removed Classics from the team. So this is like a very, very poor performance, and I think Lepimir is just gonna opt to change up the roster. We'll see what goes on with that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So, just to recap what happened with the brackets for the North American Regional Championship, we had Energy, that was number 1 seed going to, and then G2, the 2nd seed going into that after they secured their line spots. EG beat Rogue 4-2 to guarantee themselves a spot, but then lost to Energy 4-0. On the opposite end, we saw that Cloud9 guaranteed themselves this final spot, winning 4-1 against Ghost. Kind of expected more of a 4-0 there, but we saw a little bit more out of Ghost towards the end. And then Cloud9 got 4-0'd by G2, so 4-0s in both semifinals for the North American Regional Championship. And the final went all the way to 7 games. G2 ended up winning against Energy, giving them their first loss in this season of the RLCS after they were just going on a tear, defeating everyone 7-0 in league play. Almost went 9-0 in this, but in the end, they were taken down. And in 3rd place, we saw Cloud9 get 3rd, so they definitely redeemed themselves a little bit and proved they're still in the top 3, winning 4-2 against Evil Geniuses. Then for the European side of the bracket, we had the Gale Force Esports team as the number 1 seed, and then Complexity is number 2. We'll talk about how that could have been different later. As flip side didn't qualify, they lost 4-2 against Envious, who got themselves a spot, then lost 4-1 against Gale Force. And then Team Vitality won 4-2 against PSG, was pretty expected, and then swept Complexity, wasn't as expected, but they made it into those finals for the final 2 spots to fight for the number 1 and 2 seed. Gale Force won 4-1, as we talked about their consistency and how well they've been performing. And then Envious beat Complexity 4-1, so maybe we might not see as much out of Complexity unless they kind of grind out into those world championships. But now that all those the regional championships are done, let's talk about the world championships and what our expectations are with that. I'm going to just give a blanket question to all you guys. Who are you expecting to be in the grand final?
Kronovi.
I'm EU biased. Ideally, I would actually love to see, I think the best possible final we could have right now. I'm jumping the gun a bit because of the championship results, but GFE versus G2 would probably be the best final, I feel. I think those are the best 2 teams I have, but honestly, there's a bunch of other teams that could also be really good for the grand finals. Like NRG would also be a good alternative. Vitality also looks really strong, could definitely make it up there as well. Maybe even C9 if they fix up their issues lately. They definitely have the potential to beat on the grand finals. And yeah, I think those are the 5 most likely teams to make it to the grand finals, in my opinion.
Yeah, those are the most likely. I really think that we're gonna have a EU versus EU final.
Probably.
That hurts to say as NA, but I feel like because Complexity and Vitality are on the same side of the bracket, so I feel like one of those is gonna make it to the finals versus G2.
Vitality is gonna make it. I don't think Complexity will, based off their performance recently.
Yeah, Vitality 4-0'd Complexity, but I still think that on LAN it's different. I think either
True.
of those teams could take. I mean, I feel like both of those teams. I think Complexity will obviously beat the OCE number 2, and I think they'll also beat the.
You never know.
I also think they could beat G2, and then Vitality versus Cloud9. Yeah, that whole other side of the bracket is completely stacked because of the way
Both sides.
Yeah.
Well, because of the way the seeding worked out, Complexity's 4th. So Complexity, G2, Vitality, and Cloud9 on the same side, and then we have GFB, Energy, but then we also have EG and NV, which are probably the 2 weakest teams.
Yeah, they're gonna drop down.
they all through, so like they eliminate the others teams early and have an easy grand finals. That's smart.
Could do that too, yeah.
No, but for real, yeah, I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
like you mentioned the OC seeds, for example. I don't think like even Chiefs this season, as much as I love my boy Chiefs and I really want to see them win the land because of that bad, that dude on the Octane Discord posted.
Andy.
Yes, Andy. But if you guys haven't heard about that, you should check my Twitter, #plug.
Wow.
But yeah, as much as I love Chiefs, assuming they make it to LAN, obviously, which I do think they will, they've improved, sure, and there's a reason why they're dominating this OC season so hard, but it's hard to improve as much when the overall competition isn't as great in OC. So I think overall EU and NA improved more than Chiefs will have. So I don't think they have as much chances as they did last season too.
I feel like they've gotten a lot more consistency than they had last season. This is the first time anyone in the OC region has gone undefeated in league play to go to those qualifying championships. So we're definitely seeing a lot stronger of a Chiefs roster. So maybe that'll be enough of them having that consistency to maybe take down an Evil Geniuses who might not be as ready for that first game.
Yeah, and not only did they go undefeated, they had an 80% game win percentage, which is higher than NRG's win percentage in their undefeated season. So, and you can say that OCE is the weaker region, but you also have to consider that there's a lot of good teams now in OCE.
They've gotten better, which is surprising that they've done so well.
So it's surprising to me that Chiefs went 7-0 now and didn't go 7-0 last season. So that tells me that they've improved because the region has improved, and for them to go 7-0, which is a better record than they had last season when their competition was weaker, they're a better team than they were last season. And they took the series off NRG, and NRG were one of the favorites going in. Like they were one of the best teams in NA, and they got knocked out. So I think Chiefs can come in here and upset Evil Geniuses, which is again not one of the stronger teams. And then they played Gale Force, which is obviously the most difficult matchup at Worlds. But I think they could give them, take a game or two off Gale Force, and then it may potentially make them run in the lower bracket.
Like the thing about Chiefs though, sorry, just like, but like the thing about Chiefs though is like even last season they definitely could have and should have perfect season every single season. Honestly, it's just like it was always kind of a meme that Chiefs only really played well when they actually cared, and they just never cared about any tournament unless it was basically either the OC playoffs for LAN qualification or the or RLCS itself. So it's like obviously Chiefs have improved. I'm not gonna say they haven't. Every team improved this season, obviously as a baseline. I'm still not entirely convinced. I think that them improving their consistency and I guess maybe caring more about results along the entire season helped. But I'm still not entirely convinced that they've improved as much substantially enough compared to the other regions to still make it as deep as they did last season. Because I don't think the 7-0 was as much as them like improving substantially, but just like playing to their supposed level when they should have earlier.
Well, it's not just about the 7-0. It's about the competition around them. So the teams in OCE have improved since last season. Like
more so than normal.
And so regardless of whether Chiefs tried last season, which I really don't think that they just didn't try. I really think that they tried.
To be honest.
So for them to come out against better competition and go 7-0 really shows something, whatever that is. Like a championship mentality. And so they can ride that win, those wins into Worlds.
I think you might have a point with championship mentality. Maybe like they tasted they could actually like if they really grinded and improved a lot this season, they could actually make it even farther than they did last season, because it's not just like them winning against NRG. They also looked relatively well versus the match versus C9 where they went 3-1.
Oh yeah.
So, or 1-3 rather, because they lost. So
We
it's
have to remember,
final seconds.
they lost 3 of those games with 10 seconds left.
yeah, exactly.
So it's like that was really more of C9 being C9 and saying, "Hey guys, let's clutch this."
But I still think maybe, but
I
I still think like their performance maybe motivated them enough, or motivated them more than usual to say, "Oh, maybe we're not that hopeless OC team that just like randomly takes off one match and we're happy. Maybe we're actually world championship contenders, and if we grind, we'll be able to show them next line." And maybe you're right with the champion mentality. They're just like grinding earlier, just trying to show off to every single team that they're there and that they're dangerous, and the teams should look out for them and like be careful about them coming to RLCS. So maybe you do have a point there.
Yeah, it'll be good to see how well the OCU region performs against the teams, because the teams going into Worlds this time, just to recap who all the people are that qualified for North America: Evil Geniuses, Cloud9, NRG, and G2. Pretty strong teams. I'd say Evil Geniuses is like the main one people are questioning, but Cloud9's also been a bit shaky recently. And then for EU, we have Complexity, Envious, or Team Envy, whatever they're called now. And then we also have Vitality and Gale Force. And that's also a really strong team. Complexity, questionable because they got 4th. We expect more out of them because they got 2nd in league play based off the tiebreakers. And then Envy, they showed up really big, but still questioning how well they'll be able to show up at Worlds too. So there's, I feel like, a few teams they can perform really well against. But I want to ask you guys, what are the expectations for like the Envious or the Evil Geniuses? And like, this is the first time we're seeing Chrome actually making it to LAN 2 for Evil Geniuses. So
Sure.
is that going to be difficult for him?
Are they gonna have to like find a wheelchair accessible venue for Chrome?
Okay, I think
I just had to mean.
I think everyone has them at the bottom, like
Yeah.
probably like at the same level as Chiefs. So I think the EG Chiefs series could go either way. Well, that's assuming Chiefs are number 1, but I fully expect EG to lose to Gale Force, and I fully expect Envy to lose to NRG, just based on how Gale Force and NRG have been playing the last few months. Like NRG 7-0 season, only lost to G2 in the finals, and GFE coming back and winning the regional championship. I think most people would just expect them to win these series, and seeing EG drop down to the lower bracket early.
Really depends on how much they're going to be preparing for the World Championship and how much they're going to like take the boot camp as serious as possible to improve, because that's what they really need. Because EG, they haven't really showed up too much against the top teams that made it also to LAN for North America. So if they're playing against the European teams who might arguably be better, I don't think they have a good chance against them. And then Envious, we still don't know how well they'll perform against the North American teams.
I want to add real quick that Envy can actually win the energy match, because someone said in chat, we don't know how Justin's going to play. This is going to be Justin's first LAN event. While Envy iGnite has a ton of LAN experience with Gfinity Elite Series.
Yeah.
So that experience will probably allow him to like keep his nerves under control and be able to just play as he normally does. While Justin,
we've never seen Justin
never seen him at LAN. So
yeah, and Ramco and Devo are world champs, so obviously
Yeah.
they're just like there's
So they have a better chance.
They're used to it, yeah. But I think overall still Envy, in my opinion, Envy is literally, it's gonna be do or die, as in they're either gonna make it like extremely far into the brackets, like I'm not gonna say grand finals, I'm not gonna be that crazy, but like maybe losers final if they're really pushing it. But either they're gonna go like some crazy far like that, or they're just gonna like drop the first 2 matches and out.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be like, I don't really see a middle ground for them, to be honest.
So I do have a comment. I know that format discussions wasn't really on our plate here tonight, but it is something that kind of, it's the territory that we're in here, talking about the double elimination bracket, where one loss and you're dropped down and a second loss you're out. So for that round of 10, the EG Chiefs are OCE 1, which if Chiefs weren't OCE 1, it would pretty much be a major upset. And then Complexity versus OCE 2. So those two matches, those guys have the hardest road because they go right into the first seed for both regions.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to like, how does OCE stack up against NA and EU? And then, so whoever wins that, if it's OCE, they go right into the first seed for the region, which is the best team. So it's really hard to compare. Like they could get knocked down instantly. It could be like a blowout, and then you say, "Oh, well, they're garbage," right? And then
it's harsh. But,
so it's a harsh format. And I think the format, the harshness of the format, kind of forms this stereotype among these teams that they get dropped down to the lower bracket, and then it's kind of a mess down there.
Yeah. So maybe we need it to be a format kind of like we had at E-League, which actually worked pretty well. And we saw all the teams playing each other. It was a group of death, but we still saw the better team, Vitality now, Market at that time, make it out of that.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of other esports do their world championships. They take the teams and they put them into group stages. They put them into groups and they have a group stage. And so the first like half of the world championship is a group stage, and then
you get more matches.
Yeah, you get more matches, and then those teams come out and play a single or double elimination bracket.
I think even if you don't add groups, actually, what you can just do, this obviously depends though on Oceania's performance more than anyone else's. But like if say Chiefs gets at least as far as they did this season as they did last season, right? I think they have a pretty solid argument to at least swap the number 1 seed for, say, the NA 4 seed positions and just like give them better seeding so it's not as harsh anymore for them to start with. So just basically just actually give performance-based seedings and not just let's assume that EU is better than NA and that NA is better than OC for seeds, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also something that could do, but that's more of a stopgap, I guess, if they don't add groups right away. Ideally, I do agree that groups will definitely be a good thing to add. I just think that we need more teams to add groups. That's the main issue I have.
Yeah, so more regions. Have Asia, give us SAM.
Asia, China, South America. There's like three regions.
So we just up it to 16 teams and give Asia and South America 2 spots each, and then we need 2 more spots for China.
I know some
Portugal.
Europe, dude.
We could just make them be like a wild card region or something like that to qualify too.
Yeah, and so someone just commented in chat that it is fair because each team gets 2 chances. And so it's fair. But if you actually look at the structure of the bracket and how OCE is slotted in, so when you're in NA or EU, you could be the 1 through the 4 seed. And so you could be on the other side of the bracket or you could be, if you look at the quarterfinals, like Gale Force, and then on the other side you have NRG. So you could be where NRG is so Chiefs can never be there. Like they have to go through the first seed in their second match. Like there's no way to get around playing that team. So it's an unfortunate system, or it's an unfortunate event that happens because of how this is set up, and there's no way around it with the current format. And I think it's fine. Like it's been fine. I don't think there's really been any problems in the past from my perspective. Like there's never a world championship where I looked and I say, well, if we had groups, like so and so team would have won. Like you can't say that. But I think that the groups system is more conducive to a competitive environment. I think it gives the best team the best chance to succeed. And I think when you have this double elimination, you lose early and you're on the line for the rest of the weekend. And it's such a stressful environment for these players. And I think it changes how they play. And
I just think like
So-
you're flying them out for all this. Just have a group stage and everyone can play like everyone's guaranteed to play like
Yeah.
basically like 3 good matches, or let's say it's 4 groups of 4 and round robin, so 3 matches, and then top 2 from each just go into a double elimination 8-team bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, just having like groups of 4, regardless of how many teams totally have, it's just like it's already an extra match guaranteed for every team, right? Which is already more opportunities to succeed for those teams, really. So, in the end, even for the teams themselves, it's better just because, yeah, they have more opportunities to prove themselves. It's just not, and we just like it's 2 matches. It's like, especially the OC teams, we just like, oh, we're just getting to know them and they're out.
Yeah.
That's why it was good to see Chiefs at E-League too, because we got to actually see
Yeah, exactly.
behind the
It
scenes
was-
of the Chiefs team. So like people got more familiar with them and they might cheer for them in this upcoming Worlds.
Yeah, and I think I worded what I meant to say wrong before. The format discounts OCE. That the first seed of Chiefs has to face the first seed of EU or NA, whoever won the World Championship the previous season. That's how they decide who's first seed. But the first seed in NA or EU don't have to face the first seed of NA or EU until the winner's final or the finals. So, I mean, it's kind of like something that has frustrated me. So,
Well, if you divide it into groups, where would OC go anyway? So you give first and second NA as each of the group leads, right? As the top
Yeah.
in the groups, and then where would you put OC after that?
Paz mentioned something to me. He said that League of Legends used to have a wild card system. So they would have all the regions that were smaller, and they would play like a wild card qualifier, and
Yeah,
the
they did.
winners of that wild card qualifier would be like the 4 wild card teams, and then those would be placed into the
Okay, so
remaining slots. So I mean, it's something that they would
like
have to work out.
OC wouldn't be a wild card. That's what
You're
that's
right.
what you're fighting against. You want OC #1 to have its like own thing. I mean, it's very possible to just do NA1, EU1, EU2, and OC1 as the 4 group leads.
Yeah.
EU getting 2 spots as
Yeah, I
the
haven't actually like
group.
broken it down and looked at like what a group system would look like, but it's definitely something.
Regardless of the setup, though, right? It's just like
just more games will be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
They might still have to play against the #1 seed, right? But they'll also play against lower team seeds and maybe do better against those lower team seeds.
Yeah.
So
Especially
it's like they're not as penalized just by having to fight against the #1 seeds always, and just like
And that's if they
make it
beat the
impossible to
#4
lose.
seeds too.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we haven't seen the second OC team ever beat the
It's so
#4 seed.
I
interesting.
think this season we actually have a semi-decent shot. We'll see, depending on how the bracket pans
Not
out and
necessarily
who gets.
because they have to play complexity.
Yeah, they got to play complexity, and
But
if
no,
they
I'm
take
not-
this
I
more
don't think-
seriously, I feel like
I don't
Maybe
think on the
compete.
winners bracket, but maybe on the losers
Oh, yeah,
bracket,
losers,
depending
yeah.
on
Maybe.
who they play against. Like, especially, I think the #2 OC team, in my opinion, it's Legacy. But
Same.
honestly, any of the, I don't think Tainted Minds will make it. I think it's really between Legacy and Darksided. Either of those 2 teams, I think, will do surprisingly well. I don't
Yeah.
think it will be even if they lose, still it won't be like a stomp as it's been in the past, really. So
yeah.
I
Should
think
be interesting.
the #2 OC team is probably going to be the best #2 OC team we've had so far.
Yeah, I 100% agree
Better
on
than
that.
Jam and better than Tainted Minds.
I still think that the best #2 seed for OC we've ever had is still a 4-1 or a 4-2 or maybe a
Wait,
4-0.
Wait,
Like
what?
No, he's,
complexity, they'll lose.
no.
I'm
What he
saying
means
the
is,
best
like,
team.
team that's actually getting the second seed
Yeah,
or OC.
Like
Like,
ever.
that team's going to be better than any of the other second
Yeah, I
seed.
know, and I still think that they're
Oh,
not
okay.
a match for.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I
Okay.
still think that they're gonna get wiped by. They'll be out in 2
Wiped.
series. Yeah.
Wow,
I-
wiped.
But, I mean, there's no other players from OC
Yeah.
that have proven that they could.
I mean, we'll see. They're
I
the
think
the
that-
#2 OC seed is the biggest underdog in the tournament, so we'll see.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
So
they're
one
season-
hoping.
thing to mention, it's on that side of the bracket against whoever wins that OCE 2 versus complexity. if Complexity moves on, which they should, unless there's some major upset, G2 has never played Complexity. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
that would be such a
I can
high
double check
They
it.
mentioned that on Twitter. They haven't.
But they have never played each other, so that's a matchup to look out for. The first time that these players will ever play each other in a professional setting.
What's funny is that both those teams have like the same storyline, right? So like they both failed to qualify in season 3, then they stuck together, and they both qualified in season 4, and now they're here still having.
But we're seeing more out of G2 this
fine.
season than we saw.
It's fine. You'll see Legacy just deny that storyline and make it work.
Could you
Everyone else,
imagine?
it's fine.
What if
I mean,
Chiefs somehow
I
get
would
second
be so
seed
happy.
and then they take down Complexity? That would be possible.
That's actually a really interesting
Thinking.
thought. Because like we even saw actually, I'm not even joking right now. Like
Should the Chiefs throw for
open
the second
series-
seed?
No, not that. But on the open series, like I forgot exactly what was the result of the match of Legacy versus Chiefs, but I think didn't it go to 7 games? I could be wrong. But I do remember it being like actually surprisingly close. So I'm wondering if there's actually a chance that Legacy might upset, and then Chiefs just end up denying Complexity that hype match because of that.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like it's time for us to move on to the last word that we have for the show. We've been talking a lot about the regionals, talking a lot about the World Championships. We'll see exactly what happens, whatever that is. But we do need to talk about a few things. We were already getting to the format changes that we think would be useful for RLCS, like the league play, the regionals, and the World Championships. Anything else we want to bring up about that? Maybe just the league play this time for format changes.
Sure, so I'll kick it off. There's been a lot of talk about format changes to give players more opportunities to play, and then there's players, I believe Garrett G said that he doesn't want more matches, that he feels like 7 series right now is a good spot.
No, Rizzo said that. Rizzo is like,
Rizzo
this is
said
too
it?
much. It's
Okay.
already too.
Yeah, I think it was replying to Garrett then. It was something, it was like from Garrett's tweet. Yeah. But so there is a lot of talk about format changes, and I think that as the scene grows, you see other esports do this. You have to adapt to the level of play, the amount of teams that are playing, the amount of organizations that want spots. Because right now, the bottom 4 of RLRS drop out, and those teams are kind of in limbo. So there's really only, gotta do math here, 12. 12 spots for organizations that are like guaranteed spots. So I think that's not enough per region. So that's one thing to consider when you're talking about a format change. It's not just about like allowing players to play more. It's also about like organization involvement, the flow of money through the scene, giving opportunities to players where there weren't opportunities before. So it's definitely like there's a lot of interesting talk going on. I have no idea what they have planned, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of changes they make next season.
Yeah,
I think the biggest change, and the one I hope they do make, is that leak that happened on the website. Please make it true. I would be so happy if they actually expanded RLCS to 10 teams. I think that'd be an amazing change.
Yeah.
I think, the website leak, which I'm saying it's a leak, but it might have been still an honest mistake. We don't know, but I really actually hope I would love if they expanded to 10 teams, because I think on EU and NA we already have good enough deserving teams to be there. And it's even if we don't do double round robin, it does mean more matches for every team. So in theory, that means better standings and less tiebreakers because of it, or more easily separated tiebreakers at worst, and not like having to go down the laundry list of the tiebreakers. And I just really want that to see it happen. I think it'd be an amazing change. I'm not sure if they'll make it right away though, because there's still an argument like maybe we don't have as amazing teams. Like I'm thinking like, say, there's like even, and then like on RLRS, do we still like keep 8 teams maybe, or do we also expand to 10 then? And then will they even have enough teams by then to like really compete? Maybe there's an argument there, but I think for the first division, at least 10 teams would definitely be great.
I think we're all laughing at the fake botable.
What?
What is going on? But yeah, I think there's a lot of great format changes that can definitely come. I think personally, I think 10 teams is more important than double round robin. I think just it doesn't make the season drag on too long with having everyone play each other twice, but it also at the same time gives more matches and gives more opportunities to like we know like Secret can compete with these teams, and like yes, if there's a 10 team league, we'll see them be able to do that. What else was I gonna say? And yeah, it just like with 10 teams, like the standings are sort of like more pronounced, I guess. Like they're more clear because so like if you look at like EU, we had like we have Envy, PSG at 3 and 4 each, and then we have Excel and Fnatic at 1 and 6 each. While if we had 10 teams, maybe like they take a game off of one of the other 2 teams, and just like everyone will just be spread out more, and I think that's just better.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. If we do, assuming we expand to 10 teams, which obviously we don't know for sure, like, what would you guys rather Sonics do to cover those 2 extra slots? Would you just rather just take everyone from the promotion and just call it a day, or do a separate promotion tournament that it should include at least those promotion relegation teams that don't make it in, but also maybe some more different teams for RLCS? So what would you guys rather have?
I think everyone from promotion tournament should just go in, because those promotion tournament teams, like, they played out a whole RLRS season and proved that they are like the best in the RLRS. So like they shouldn't just like not be rewarded with that, you know?
The argument against that, though, I guess, on my point of view, sorry, Dexy, to interrupt, but it's like then promotion relegation became pretty much irrelevant, right? It's like, I mean, you saw really, that
those teams got promoted. What do you mean it became irrelevant?
I mean, they play, but they'll definitely play the event before they announce, right? And then they'll just like everyone will expect them to be in RLRS, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, everyone just went through anyway.
You just do a 16 promotion.
Right?
You just do a 16 promotion relegation tournament. The top 4 of RLRS, bottom 2 of RLCS.
That would imply, we're assuming though that they'll expand to them not in 2 seasons, but just next season right away, right?
If they expanded 10 seasons and the promotion tournament doesn't matter, then that's whatever. The promotion tournament doesn't matter. It doesn't. It doesn't have to matter. Like right now, it matters. So teams are going to be playing as if it matters. And if the teams that lose are in the bottom 2, and there is an expansion, and those teams are just brought up, then that's not a big deal. I think just being in the promotion tournament, those 2 teams have proven that they are above the rest of the teams. So I don't think it's fair to like take that away from them. And I also don't think it's fair for like say Excel and Fnatic just make it back into RLCS, right? And Secret and Servet lose out in the promotion tournament. I also don't think it's fair for them to have to play a whole nother tournament when they've already proved themselves as the top 2 teams in the RLRS.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I'm asking for your guys' thoughts, because I mean, I definitely see your arguments for both sides, because like on one hand, right, you should definitely reward the teams that make it to promotion. On the other hand, you risk making it a bit irrelevant, but after the fact, and you were having an extra tournament is always an extra event you could use for hype, right? So maybe on that sense, it could have been better as well.
Okay, but let me just say that personally, I don't want the automatic promotion. I want to see an expansion tournament. I want to see those. I want to see them fight for those 2 new spots.
So you're just playing devil's advocate, basically.
No, but like it's more exciting for me to watch that, right? Yeah. But like it's not fair for the teams themselves to have that. Yeah. It's fair for the teams to just make it into the RLCS. But I want to see this tournament.
So I agree. I think Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So here's a thought, just because we're kind of, I don't want this to get like derailed here.
It is kind of getting derailed a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the
So-
big last word.
So here's something that a lot of people haven't really talked about, and it's something that's been on my mind. The RLRS bottom four kind of just get chopped out. They just
I
get
don't
dropped.
like that.
And
I
then
feel like it'd be better if it's just the bottom two.
So here's what I had going on. You know, I've been thinking about this. I think I tweeted it once. I'm not really sure. I think I was gonna make like an image, but I never found time. So the bottom four keep their spots until the play-ins for next season. So the play-in teams play next season. So season five. So
I see what you
season
mean.
so season 5 RLRS teams, all 8 stay, and the bottom 4 are going to have to play the top 4 in next season's play.
And like a promotion relegation.
promotion
thing.
relegation,
That would be good. I would like that actually.
So
I was thinking about that, but
So
in,
instead of getting chopped out and having to go through an open qualifier,
Yeah.
which like you already know that they're good, they're in like they're already better than all those bronze players that are in the golden qualifier. So like there's no reason for them to go through that whole system again. Just
Or
make
at
them-
least in the top 128, they should be
Yeah.
like guaranteed a spot, not even have to play the open qualifier.
Just something
if they,
like
if
that.
they stick together is the main thing, because a
Yeah,
lot of these
yeah.
teams who get bottom 4 don't stick together.
yeah.
That might just be because they're getting out of the rival series. But even if they stayed, I feel like some of them would still not want to stay together. So I guess maybe they could just like add another team into that promo relegation thing.
I
for
was
rivals.
thinking of doing something like that, but a bit shortened, I guess. So like instead of having the 4 teams keep their spot and an advantage, I guess, for the promotion, RLRS promotion or whatever we call it, like we'd still have 2 teams auto relegated, but we'd still have an auto promotion, but instead of having the bottom 4, we'd have the 5th and 6th have basically a round 1 bye against the top 4 teams from the play-ins, and then you'd get 4 teams into the RLRS between those 6 teams.
That could work too.
Yeah, just a
yeah,
bit differently.
usually
But
the
I agree.
top 2
I
teams are, like,
like that
pretty
system.
bad.
The idea of having such a system, like not immediately dropping basically half of the league every single time, but actually giving them a chance. Because if they made it that far, in theory, they should be better than most of the playing teams anyways, right? So basically just gave them a bye in some sense and give them an opportunity to at least prove themselves against those other teams that went all the way and maybe still retain their spot that way. I do agree with that.
That would help them a lot more as well for because they can show that they're already in the. They might not be yet, but they would most likely get that spot next season because of how well they performed. And it's not bad that they came 5th and 6th. Some of those teams that did this season performed way better than the teams in those places did last season. So I feel like it's going to have to change at some point the way we're getting more depth in the rival series.
I agree. All right, so maybe just to end up as well, maybe we should just very briefly talk about Gfinity.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about how Gfinity, for those of us who don't really watch Facebook.
So recently, the semifinals for Gfinity happened, and surprisingly enough, we almost saw Method taking down Vitality. I think like Vitality was dominating, if I'm not mistaken, on the first matches, but then they were playing really well and they were starting to take games off of Vitality. But in the end, Vitality still ended up winning with a 4-2 result. So that was not really that surprising. And then on the other team semifinal, we saw Team Envious, which had the bye, go against Epsilon. And from what I hear, iGnite basically popped off that series. So it ended up as well being a 4-2 result. So it was a really good week for iGnite because that week he qualified for the Gfinity finals and the RLCS finals. So it's actually going to be a really interesting match to watch. Too bad we don't have the main Envy roster on Gfinity. Because that would be like even more hype than it is, honestly. But it's still going to be a really interesting match. Vitality should take it relatively
I expect
easily,
that too, yeah.
because it's since it's not their main team. If it was their main team, I'd love to see that match, even though it is on Facebook, because it's definitely it be against the Vitality on top form, but also against an Envy that's been peaking at just the right time, and it'd be a great match. But it should just still be good. But
Well,
it's more in Vitality's favor with that.
Envy and Vitality, they played in the regular season for Jupiter, right? And Vitality won 3-2.
Yeah, it was
So
really
it was like really close. So
But they
nothing-
used, if I'm not mistaken, they used a sub, Vitality, that is.
Vitality. They probably played.
I'm
with
double
Max
checking
Brown.
right now. No, actually, they didn't.
No,
I
it was their
wrong.
main roster. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yes.
So
yeah,
hopefully
really
it keeps
close
it
match.
really competitive.
Yeah,
And is that this upcoming Saturday? Is that correct?
Yep.
yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Yes, that's gonna be great to see that if anyone is watching that. I'll probably try and tune in whenever it is, but it's pretty early for North America.
Don't kid yourself. No, it's on
I'm not
Facebook.
going to. I'll wait till it's on
Watch-
Octane.gg for the results, and you guys can check those out there too.
Yes.
But shameless plug. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how OCE went this past weekend, Slock, and some of those surprises? I know we saw a lot more out of Retirement Home. I'm sure Paz was like super excited, but fortunately they didn't make it.
Yeah, so OC had a surprising thing where every match this weekend went to 7 games. That's pretty exciting. I
that was
guess.
really surprising, especially because I thought there was like a clear difference between 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 6th, but no, like every game went to 7. Just like every team was really even that day, and it was like I'm still somewhat sad for Retirement Home because they were really close on both series to just like
So yeah,
to winning it, and it's
I mean they won versus Jam. Yeah, because the
Yeah,
winners
but
final
they
was
had to.
Darksided versus Tainted Minds, and Darksided won that. Retirement will beat Jam 4-3, and then
They
Retirement Home
almost beat
they
Tainted as
lost
well.
to Tainted Minds.
yeah,
4-3.
exactly.
A lot
I think
big
even-
like a lot more improvement since the league play for sure for them.
I think even though that there's 7-game series, I think we still saw the team for each match specifically. We saw the team that we expected to win that match. Like I think everyone expected Darksided to beat Tainted Minds, Retirement Home over Jam, and then Tainted Minds over Retirement. Like exactly
Yeah,
what
it ended
was
up
expected.
going as expected. It just was really closer than expected as well, results wise, match wise. So yeah,
So that's
hopefully the top 4 playoffs will be just as good to watch.
When is the top 4 playoffs?
I think
This
it's
weekend.
next.
This
yeah,
week, yeah.
exactly.
This week.
weekend.
The 29th, I believe. I had it.
Yeah, they're all this week. So the entire event's this
Yeah.
week. So we're good. And it's not a LAN. It's online this time around.
Have they announced that already? I don't
mean,
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they already announced it.
Announced it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they did.
They did.
But yeah.
Yeah,
So
but-
it's great that
Correct.
we have some stuff happening this weekend while there's a break before the relegation tournament. I guess we should talk about the promo relegation tournament because we haven't even mentioned that at all and the teams that are competing in that. So we have Fnatic is 8th for EU. So that'll be like the second seeded for the RLCS teams for that side. And then we have Excel. I've completely forgot about them
Yeah,
because they haven't even been in my
7th.
mind at all. Excel got 7th out of I think it was like win percentage. They were tied in that or like game win percentage, something like that. And then we also have Servette and Secret that made it into the promo relegation tournament. Who got first and second? Just remind us.
Secret first and Servette second.
Secret first and Servette second. So it'll be Secret versus Fnatic and then
Mhm.
Servette versus Excel.
Exactly.
So what are the expectations for that?
Servette
So
does not
yeah.
make it.
Same. That's my opinion. I think
I
they
can see
might
that.
fight about it, but I don't think they'll make it. I honestly think it's actually going to be Secret and Excel making it through to RLCS.
Not Fnatic?
No, I think Fnatic is just really not playing good anymore. They just play way too passive, which just doesn't work out anymore. And I think Secret is the better team than Fnatic right now, so they should win that match. And then it's hard to tell if they'll win against Excel. I'm expecting Excel to win versus Servette. It's hard to tell if they'll win that match. I think in theory, they should, but as I likes to call it, the Excel disease. It's hard to play against them. They have a really unique play style, and Secret doesn't really do well against unique play styles. So they will struggle on that match. Maybe they'll just overcome it and still win. But even if they do lose, regardless of who their opponent is, after that, I think they'll win. So
yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And then on the North American side, we have CLG. They're gonna make it in. I don't think there's any question about that. But and then we also have Out of Style. They're probably gonna get relegated. Let's be honest.
Wow.
And then we have FlyQuest. Mix up the S. Yeah, FlipSide's in North America now, guys. No, FlyQuest and then Allegiance. I think so many people are doubting FlyQuest, but I think they're gonna make it in.
Yeah, me too, honestly.
I think it'll be FlyQuest and CLG. I'm so excited. I just want Prime Thunder in the RLCS.
At least so.
Although, yes, I really want to see Prime Thunder on RLCS, but I think like FlyQuest and Allegiance have like say a 60-40% between them to make it in, and with the CLG being the other team going in. So
yeah,
it'll be.
I'm sure we can talk more about like the specific matchups and how they'll go next week.
Yeah, we'll talk more in depth next week.
But yeah, thank you guys. Though we are probably going to wrap things up here. We've got a little bit over time, a bit more casual of a show. We usually have some more production, so make sure you guys are following the channel so you can tune in. We're going to be on Tuesdays now at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What time is that in EU, Shadow?
Yeah, what's it in EU time?
Yeah, in EU time.
So 1:30 British summertime, which is 2:30 a.m. That's all. Both times are a.m. 1:30 a.m. British summertime and 2:30 CEST.
Which means if you're EU, you're not going to be watching anyway.
Yeah, you should
might be watching the
stay up.
If you are,
I'm staying up for this, so you should too.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But yeah,
right.
so make sure you guys are following the channel. Thank you to our subscriber from earlier. I can't really scroll up because I refreshed my chat, but first one, thank you so much. And we will see you guys next week. This has been Full Throttle, the Octane Talk Show, brought to you by Vaudable, Dexy, Slock, and B Shadow, and well see you later.
And B-Dog.
And B-Dog, our production. Can't say
thank you,
B-Dog, without thanking him.
Thank you, B-Dog. All right. Thank you, guys.